First Contact's Folly. High Admiral Vexthor of the Meridian Empire stood at the command center of the Celestial Adjudicator, his flagship's pristine bridge reflecting the perfection expected of the galaxy's most advanced civilization. Multiple sets of crystalline eyes studied the tactical display with barely concealed disdain. The human colony of New Providence lay before them, defended by what appeared to be a motley collection of repurposed vessels that hardly deserved to be called a fleet. High Admiral, preliminary scans complete, announced First Tactician Zura, her scaled fingers dancing across holographic controls. The human vessels appear to be primarily modified mining ships and cargo haulers. Minimal military-grade weaponry detected. They seem to be using industrial equipment as defensive installations. Vexthor's facial ridges rippled with amusement. The Meridian Empire had conquered 1,000 worlds across 3 galactic arms, their perfectly engineered warships and precisely calculated battle doctrine crushing all opposition. These humans, barely 3 centuries into their space age, would be no different. Send the standard ultimatum, Vexthor commanded. Though given their primitive state, perhaps we should use simpler terms. Aboard the HFY Ingenuity, Commander Elena Chen watched the massive Meridian warships approach with practiced calm. The converted deep space mining vessel's bridge still smelled faintly of mineral ore, despite months of retrofitting. Around her, her crew worked with the focused intensity that had become humanity's hallmark since reaching the stars. Their broadcasting, Commander, Lieutenant Sarah Wong reported from the communications station, which still bore the logo of Asteroid Belt Mining Corporation. Standard surrender or de-annihilated stuff. Pretty fancy language, though. These guys really love their formalities. Elena smiled, running her hand along a control panel that had once controlled mining lasers, but now linked to something far more interesting. Send them our response. The one we prepared. The message that reached the Celestial Adjudicator's bridge was not the groveling surrender Vexthor expected. Instead, a simple text transmission read, "Thanks for the heads up. Maybe don't stand there too long." Before the Meridian command staff could process this peculiar response, proximity alarms screamed across the bridge. The space around their fleet erupted with activity as thousands of what appeared to be simple mining drones emerged from concealment behind asteroids and debris fields. Impossible, Zyra breathed, her scales paling. Those are maintenance units. Mining drones. They can't possibly. The drones swarmed toward the Meridian ships, their industrial cutting lasers and mineral processing equipment repurposed into crude but effective weapons. What they lacked in military precision, they made up for in sheer numbers and unpredictability. The Meridian targeting systems, calibrated for military-grade threats, struggled to track the small, erratically moving targets. Evasive maneuvers. Vexthor commanded, but the Meridian ships, designed for grand fleet actions and precise formation combat, found themselves hemmed in by their own rigid tactical doctrine. The drones darted between their ships, cutting communications arrays, sensor pods, and weapon emplacements with mining lasers meant for asteroid excavation. Elena watched the chaos unfold on her tactical display, directing the drone swarms with hand movements that seemed more suited to conducting an orchestra than commanding a military action. "Begin Phase 2, she ordered, and the apparently random drone attacks suddenly took on a new pattern. The Meridian Fleet's formation, previously a perfect geometric arrangement, began to break apart as ships maneuvered to avoid the swarms. As they did, carefully hidden gravitational manipulators, salvaged from old asteroid redirectors, activated throughout the battlefield. The Meridian ships found their precise movements disrupted by unpredictable gravitational eddies. "This is impossible." Vexthor raged as his flagship's artificial gravity fluctuated wildly. "They're using mining equipment. Industrial cast-offs. This isn't proper warfare." "That's kind of the point," Elena murmured to herself as she watched the Meridian formation collapse into disarray. The converted cargo ships of her fleet now moved into position, their holds opening to reveal not trade goods but swarms of improvised missiles. Mining charges repurposed into ship-to-ship weapons. "Launch everything," she commanded. "Let's show them why you shouldn't underestimate human engineering." The space between the fleets filled with weapons that no military manual would recognize. Mining charges designed to break up asteroids detonated against Meridian shields, their blast patterns too chaotic for defensive systems to predict. Repurposed industrial cutting beams sliced through armor plating with unexpected effectiveness. Gravity manipulators turned the battlefield into a maze of spatial distortions that played havoc with the Meridian's targeting systems. On the Celestial Adjudicator's bridge, Vexthor watched in horror as his perfect fleet was systematically dismantled by equipment that shouldn't have posed any military threat at all. "How?" he demanded of no one in particular. "Their technology is centuries behind ours." The answer came in the form of another text transmission from the Ingenuity. "Technology isn't everything. Sometimes you just need to think differently." As the Meridian fleet began a hasty retreat, Alina allowed herself a small smile. "Send a message to command," she told Lieutenant Wang. "Tell them the colony is secure, and inform them that our primitive modifications to the mining equipment worked better than expected. Also suggest that we might want to start mass-producing these designs. Something tells me we're going to need more of them." The stars twinkled indifferently as the mighty Meridian warships fled from what their sensors still insisted was nothing more than a collection of industrial equipment. Behind them, the primitive human fleet stood guard over their colony, their improvised weapons ready for whatever came next. In the Empire's grand history of conquest, this would be recorded as the day they learned a crucial lesson. Sometimes the most dangerous opponent isn't the one with the most advanced technology, but the one who knows how to use what they have in ways you never imagined possible. The art of human warfare. Grand strategist K. Val stalked through the halls of the Meridian Imperial War College, his ceremonial robes billowing behind him as he approached the emergency council chamber. The defeat at New Providence had sent shockwaves through the Empire's military hierarchy, and now the greatest tactical minds of the Meridian civilization had gathered to understand their failure. The chamber fell silent as Kival entered. Holograms flickered across the room's center, showing recordings of the battle from multiple angles. The sight of their pristine warships being overwhelmed by retrofitted industrial equipment made several of the gathered strategists shift uncomfortably in their seats. "Explain to me," Kival began, his voice carrying the weight of centuries of military tradition, "how the most advanced fleet in the galaxy was defeated by mining equipment and cargo haulers." From her position at the data terminal, Fleet Analyst Junra activated a new series of holograms. "The humans appear to operate on principles that defy conventional military doctrine. Their approach is chaotic, unpredictable. They modify their equipment constantly, even during battle." The recording showed human ships making modifications to their weapons and systems in real time, adapting to Meridian countermeasures almost as quickly as they were deployed. What looked like random improvisations to Meridian eyes were actually carefully planned tactical evolutions, each building upon the last in ways that their rigid tactical doctrines struggled to comprehend. Meanwhile, aboard the human frontier station Olympus, Commander Elena Chen was giving her own briefing to Earth Defense Command. The station's conference room was far less formal than its Meridian counterpart, with officers sitting on whatever furniture was available, some even perched on repurposed cargo containers. "The Meridians fight like they're solving a math problem," Elena explained, gesturing to the tactical displays. "Everything is calculated, precise, and by the book. The moment we throw something unexpected at them, their entire strategy falls apart." Admiral James Harrison, joining via quantum link from Earth, leaned forward in his chair. "And you believe they'll be back?" "Without question," Elena nodded. "Their entire empire is built on military superiority. They can't afford to let this defeat stand. But next time, they'll be prepared for our mining drone tactics. Then we'll need to give them something new to think about." Harrison mused. "What do you need?" Elena's smile would have made a Meridian tactical officer very nervous. Everything. Anything. The more random and industrial it looks, the better. These people don't understand human innovation. Let's use that against them. Back in the Meridian War College, Keval watched as analysts dissected every moment of the battle. Their quantum mechanics are crude, one expert noted, but they're applying them in ways our systems aren't designed to counter. They're using principles we discarded centuries ago because they were too unpredictable. Unpredictable, Keval repeated, the word tasting bitter in his mouth. Our entire civilization is built on predictability, precision, perfect order. Perhaps, Junra ventured carefully, that is precisely why they were able to defeat us. They embrace chaos while we seek to eliminate it. The discussion was interrupted by an urgent communication. Long-range sensors had detected new human activity in the sector. The images it revealed caused several of the gathered strategists to cry out in alarm. The humans were converting an entire asteroid into what appeared to be a mobile fortress. Industrial machines crawled across its surface like insects, installing weapons that defied classification. Sensor readings suggested they were somehow combining Meridian technology salvaged from the battle with their own industrial equipment, creating hybrid systems that no sane military engineer would consider viable. How can they expect such combinations to function? One analyst demanded. The technological principles are completely incompatible. And yet, Keval observed grimly, they do function. These humans, they don't just ignore the rules of warfare, they ignore the rules of physics themselves. In orbit around New Providence, Elena supervised the transformation of the asteroid that would become Fortress Prometheus. Teams of engineers worked with salvaged Meridian technology, their approaches ranging from careful scientific study to what could only be described as educated guesswork. You know, her chief engineer commented, watching as a team successfully combined a Meridian quantum cannon with a mineral extraction beam. By all known principles of physics, that combination shouldn't work. Good thing nobody told the laws of physics that, Elena replied. How long until the fortress is operational? At current pace, 3 days. We're learning a lot about their tech. Turns out when you stop trying to use it the way it was designed and start thinking creatively, you can do some pretty interesting things with it. Elena watched as another team managed to integrate a series of Meridian shield generators with human industrial power systems, creating a defensive barrier that flickered with strange, unprecedented patterns. The Meridians built their technology to be perfect, precise, and predictable. They never considered what would happen when humans got their hands on it and started asking, what if? Send word to all colonies, she ordered. I want every mining outpost, every cargo station, every industrial facility working on new combinations. When the Meridians return, I want them to face something they've never seen before, human engineering unleashed. As the sun set over New Providence, casting long shadows across the growing fortress, Elena couldn't help but wonder what the Meridian strategists would think if they could see what humanity was doing with their precious technology. Sometimes the greatest innovations came not from advancing forward, but from looking at what you already had in completely new ways. The Meridian Empire had perfected the art of war through precise calculation and rigid doctrine. Humanity was about to show them that war, like everything else, could be reinvented. Turning the tides. The Meridian Reinforcement Fleet emerged from hyperspace in perfect formation, their ships arranged in the sacred geometric patterns that had served the Empire for millennia. High Admiral Vex Thor had returned, this time with 3 times the ships and new countermeasures against human mining drones. The fleet that had retreated in shame would now restore the Empire's honor. What they found waiting for them defied comprehension. The space around New Providence had been transformed. The asteroid that human sensors had detected was now a massive, irregular fortress that seemed to ignore every principle of proper military engineering. Its surface bristled with a combination of modified Meridian weapons and human industrial equipment, creating defense systems that made the Empire's sensor operators question their readings. High Admiral, First Tactician Zera reported, her voice struggling to maintain its professional tone. They'd done something to our salvage technology. The energy signatures are unlike anything in our database. Vexthor studied the readings with mounting concern. The humans hadn't just repurposed their technology. They'd fundamentally altered it, combining it with their crude industrial systems in ways that should have been impossible. The fortress's shields fluctuated with strange patterns, simultaneously more efficient and more unpredictable than standard Meridian designs. "They've corrupted our perfect systems," he growled. "Launch the first wave. Show them the proper way to wage war." The Meridian fleet advanced in textbook formation, their new drone countermeasures ready. But Alina Chen and her forces had no intention of repeating their previous tactics. From her command center inside Fortress Prometheus, Alina gave the order, "Activate the gravity web." Hundreds of modified Meridian gravity generators, combined with human mining tractor beams, created a complex network of gravitational distortions throughout the battlefield. The Meridian ships found their perfect formation disrupted by forces that their navigation systems couldn't predict or compensate for. "Impossible," Zyra whispered as she watched the tactical display. "They're using our gravity generators as mining equipment." The humans had essentially turned space itself into a mineral processing system, with the Meridian ships playing the role of ore to be sorted and separated. Ships were pulled apart from their formations, their carefully calculated maneuvers rendered useless by gravitational forces that behaved in ways Meridian science insisted they shouldn't. "Launch the hybrid fighters," Alina commanded. From launch bays across Fortress Prometheus, squadrons of small craft emerged. Each was a unique combination of salvaged Meridian technology and human industrial equipment. Some used modified mineral scanners as targeting systems, providing targeting data that Meridian shields weren't configured to block. Others had combined Meridian energy weapons with human mining lasers, creating beams that fluctuated unpredictably between different energy states. "Their ships are an abomination," Vexthor declared as he watched the fighters tear through his fleet's outer squadrons. "They've taken our perfect technology and turned it into something new," Zyra finished, her scientific curiosity temporarily overwhelming her military discipline. "They're not just using our technology, they're evolving it." The battle continued to unfold in ways that defied Meridian tactical doctrine. The humans had transformed the salvaged Meridian quantum cannons into weapons that didn't just fire energy bolts. They temporarily altered the local laws of physics. Ships hit by these modified weapons found their own technology behaving in unexpected ways, as if the fundamental principles they were built on had been temporarily rewritten. "Multiple ships reporting critical system failures," Zyra announced. "Our own technology is adapting to match their modifications. The quantum resonance is spreading through our network." Alina watched from Fortress Prometheus as the Meridian fleet struggled against weapons and defenses they couldn't understand. "You know what their biggest mistake was?" she asked her bridge crew. "They spent so long perfecting their technology that they forgot to keep exploring what else it could do." The fortress's main weapon powered up, a massive hybrid system that combined dozens of Meridian quantum cannons with human industrial mass drivers. The result was something that even Alina's engineers weren't entirely sure how to classify. When it fired, it didn't just attack the Meridian ships. It temporarily rewrote the physical properties of space around them. By all known laws of physics, this shouldn't be possible, Alina's chief engineer commented as they watched Meridian ships phase in and out of normal spacetime, their perfect formations completely shattered. "Good thing we didn't tell the laws of physics that," Alina replied with a grin. "Sometimes you have to break a few rules to make something new." The Meridian fleet's retreat was far less orderly than their arrival. Ships limped away through hyperspace, their perfect technology contaminated with human innovations that spread through their systems like a virus of chaos in their ordered world. As the last Meridian ship disappeared, Alina opened a channel to Earth Defense Command. "I think we've proved our point," she reported. "The Meridians aren't just facing our technology now. they're facing human creativity itself, and that's something their perfect systems can never quite calculate. In the debris field that had once been the outer edge of the Meridian Formation, human salvage teams were already at work, gathering more technology to experiment with. Each piece would be taken apart, studied, combined with human innovation, and transformed into something new, something unprecedented. The Meridian Empire had spent millennia perfecting their technology. Humanity had just shown them that perfection was just the beginning. The Empire's dilemma. The Imperial Palace on Meridia Prime had stood unchanged for 10,000 years, its crystalline spires a testament to the perfection the Empire strived for. Now, for the first time in living memory, the Grand Council chamber echoed with the sounds of argument and uncertainty. Supreme Overlord HFY watched from his elevated throne as the Empire's highest officials debated the human problem. The chamber's perfect acoustics, designed to carry every word with crystalline clarity, now amplified their discord. "The humans aren't just defeating our ships," High Admiral Vexthor reported, his pride clearly wounded. "They're changing our technology." Ships that survive encounters with their hybrid weapons begin exhibiting anomalies, unpredictable behaviors. The contamination spreads through our quantum networks like a disease. Grand Strategist Caval stepped forward, activating a holographic display that showed the battle at New Providence. "Our entire military doctrine is based on perfection through prediction. The humans have rendered this approach obsolete. They don't just ignore our predictions, they actively exploit them." In the lower tiers of the chamber, younger Meridian officers watched with a mixture of horror and fascination. Some had begun secretly studying the human modifications, their curiosity overwhelming their indoctrination in Imperial doctrine. The latest reports are even more disturbing. Fleet Analyst Junra added, "Some of our frontier colonies are beginning to experiment with their own technology, inspired by human methods. They're calling it adaptive engineering." She spoke the term as if it were a blasphemy. Meanwhile, aboard the human research station, Prometheus I, Alina Chen stood in a laboratory filled with salvaged Meridian technology. Teams of engineers worked around her, each approaching the alien devices with the uniquely human combination of scientific rigor and creative improvisation. "Look at this," Dr. Sarah Wong, now chief of Xenotechnology Research, called Alina over to her workstation. "The Meridians built their quantum networks to be perfect and unchanging. But when we introduce even small variations, the systems don't just adapt, they evolve. It's like they've been waiting for someone to show them how to change." Elena studied the holographic models showing how Meridian technology responded to human modifications. They spent so long making everything perfect that they never noticed the potential for growth. Their technology wants to evolve. They just never gave it the chance. Back in the Meridian Grand Council chamber, a junior technician named Relix risked everything by speaking up. Perhaps we should study their methods. Not to copy them, but to understand." "Heresy," shouted one of the elder counselors. "Our ways have served us for 10,000 years. We will not abandon perfection for chaos." Supreme Overlord HFY raised a hand for silence. For the first time in centuries, uncertainty clouded his ancient eyes. "Show me," he commanded, "how their modifications spread through our networks." The holographic display shifted, showing the progression of human-inspired changes through Meridian systems. What the Empire saw as contamination looked more like evolution when viewed objectively. Ships exposed to human modifications didn't just malfunction. They began operating in new, more efficient ways that defied Imperial doctrine. Some of the affected systems are showing efficiency increases of over 300%, Junra reported reluctantly. But the results are unpredictable, inconsistent with our standards, yet effective. HFY mused. Tens of thousands of years of tradition waited his next words. Perhaps perfection is not an end, but a beginning." The chamber erupted in shocked murmurs. Relix and other young officers exchanged excited glances, while the older generation looked horrified at the mere suggestion of change. On Earth, Admiral Harrison reviewed Alina's latest reports with the Defense Council. The Meridians are at a crossroads, Alina explained via quantum link. Their entire civilization is built on the idea of achieving and maintaining perfection. We haven't just challenged their military. We've challenged their entire worldview. And how do you think they'll respond? Harrison asked. Alina gestured to the data showing Meridian ships beginning to exhibit spontaneous adaptations. Their technology is already choosing for them. You can't maintain perfect stasis in an imperfect universe. Change is inevitable. They're just finally being forced to acknowledge it. In a secret facility on the outskirts of Meridia Prime, Relics and a group of like-minded young officers had begun their own experiments. They carefully documented how human-inspired modifications affected their technology, watching in amazement as systems they had thought perfect revealed entirely new capabilities. "It's beautiful," Relics whispered as they watched a quantum core reconfigure itself in ways Imperial science had deemed impossible. "All this time, we thought we were preserving perfection, but we were really just stopping it from growing." The Empire stood at a precipice. 10,000 years of tradition demanded they crush this human contamination and restore their perfect order. But their own technology had begun to change, to evolve, to grow in ways that couldn't be ignored or undone. The humans hadn't just challenged the Meridian Empire's military supremacy. They had introduced the most dangerous idea of all. The concept that perfection wasn't an end state, but a process of continuous improvement and adaptation. Victory through innovation. The Meridian Empire's final assault on New Providence began not with a battle, but with an invitation. The massive Imperial flagship, Eternal Paradigm, dropped out of hyperspace alone, its quantum cores humming with modifications that would have been considered heretical just months ago. Supreme Overlord HFY stood on the bridge, accompanied not by military commanders, but by Relics and a team of young engineers who had dared to question 10,000 years of tradition. They faced Fortress Prometheus, now twice its original size and gleaming with hybrid technology that represented humanity's uninhibited creativity. "Open a channel," HFY commanded, his voice carrying the weight of an empire in transition. "It is time we learn to speak with these humans, not just fight them." Commander Elena Chen received the transmission in Prometheus's command center, surrounded by displays showing the endless experiments and innovations that had transformed human space defense. The Meridian flagship's energy signature was unlike anything they'd seen before, neither purely Imperial nor human-influenced, but something entirely new. "This is unexpected," Elena commented to Dr. Wang. "Their ship's quantum signature. They'd been doing their own experiments." HFY's image appeared on the main screen, his ancient eyes now bright with an emotion no Meridian leader had shown in millennia: curiosity. "Commander Chen," he began, "my empire has spent 10,000 years pursuing perfection. We thought we had achieved it, until we met humanity." Elena noticed subtle changes in the Meridian leader's appearance and bearing, signs of adaptation in a culture that had long since frozen itself in time. "Your Eminence," she responded, "we've learned a great deal from your technology as well. Perhaps perfection isn't about reaching an end state, but about never stopping the journey of discovery." "Precisely," HFY gestured, and Relics stepped forward with a holographic presentation. "We have been watching how our technology responds to your modifications. Systems we thought perfect have revealed new possibilities. Our young engineers have begun to experiment." The hologram showed Meridian ships incorporating elements of human innovation, not copying them directly, but using them as inspiration to unlock new potential in their own designs. What had started as contamination had evolved into a technological renaissance. "Your chaos frightened us," HFY admitted, "but we have come to understand that without chaos, there can be no growth, no evolution, no true perfection." In the background, Dr. Wang's instruments detected something remarkable. The quantum fields around the Eternal Paradigm were resonating with Fortress Prometheus, the two systems engaging in a spontaneous exchange of information. Their technologies weren't just communicating, They were learning from each other. "Your Eminence," Elena responded, "I think our machines are already ahead of us in understanding the benefits of cooperation." The meeting that followed transformed both civilizations. In Fortress Prometheus's main conference chamber, human engineers and Meridian technicians shared their discoveries. The humans learned the profound principles behind Meridian quantum science, while the Meridians witnessed firsthand the boundless creativity that had allowed humanity to achieve so much with seemingly primitive tools. "Look at this," Ralix exclaimed, watching a human engineer casually modify a quantum core in ways that would have been considered impossible under Imperial doctrine. "Every imperfection, every deviation we sought to eliminate, they're all opportunities for growth." Elena and Tivac stood together, watching their teams work. "We thought perfection meant achieving a final, unchanging state," Shivax mused. "Your people showed us that true perfection lies in the ability to continuously adapt and improve. And your technology showed us that sometimes the wildest innovations need to be grounded in deep understanding." Elena replied, "Together, we're both becoming something greater than we were alone." The peace treaty that followed wasn't just a diplomatic document. It was a framework for cooperation that would reshape the galaxy. The Meridian Empire began a careful process of awakening from its 10,000-year stasis, while humanity gained access to technological principles that would accelerate their development by centuries. Fortress Prometheus was transformed into the first joint innovation center, where human creativity and Meridian precision worked together to explore possibilities neither civilization had imagined alone. The hybrid technology they developed wasn't just a combination of their two approaches. It was something entirely new, born from the understanding that perfection wasn't a destination, but an endless journey of discovery. Years later, Elena stood at a viewport in the expanded Prometheus facility, watching ships of both civilizations moving through space. Some were pristine Meridian designs, others were typically human improvised constructions, and many were something in between, each representing a different path toward the same goal of advancement. "You know what the real victory was?" she asked Dr. Wong, who had stayed on as the facility's research director. "Not defeating their fleet, but helping them remember how to dream." Wong nodded, watching a group of young Meridian engineers excitedly testing a new modification they'd developed. "And they helped us learn to build our dreams on stronger foundations." Turns out perfection isn't about being flawless. It's about never stopping the pursuit of something better. In the vast space around New Providence, human and Meridian ships danced through their maneuvers together, their quantum fields harmonizing in ways that would have once been thought impossible. They were no longer two civilizations in conflict, but partners in an endless journey of discovery, each learning from the other that the greatest achievements come not from reaching perfection, but from never ceasing to reach for it. The stars themselves seemed to shine brighter on this new era, where the boundless creativity of humanity and the profound understanding of the Meridians had combined to create something greater than either had imagined possible, a future where perfection wasn't a fixed point, but an endless horizon of possibility.